The ground gave way beneath my boots like a betrayal from the earth itself, the loose shale crumbling into the yawning mouth of the ravine below. "Grab on, darlin'. I got you," a voice roared, deep and cracked like thunder rolling off canyon walls, cutting through the roar of my own panic, as his rough, sun-baked hand clamped around my wrist, yanking me back from the abyss. Our eyes locked, mine wide with the ghost of death, his steady as the ancient red rocks. And in that heartbeat, I felt the world tilt not just from the fall, but from the spark of something forbidden igniting in the space between us. I never meant to end up in this godforsaken stretch of Arizona Badlands, miles from the nearest cell signal or corner store latte. My name's Lucas Hale, 28, a graphic designer from Phoenix who'd traded boardroom deadlines for a solo backpacking trip to find myself. Or so the therapist back home had suggested after my last breakup imploded in a mess of passive-aggressive texts and ghosting. The kind of breakup that leaves you questioning if love's just a glitch in the human code. Especially when you're a gay guy in a city where rainbows fly high on apps but fade fast in real life. I'd driven out here to the Superstition Mountains 2 days ago, chasing the myth of the Lost Dutchman's gold mine like some half-assed pilgrim seeking redemption. The trails were supposed to clear my head. Crisp air, endless sky, the crunch of gravel underfoot promising solitude. Instead, they delivered a near-death experience and a cowboy named Archer, who looked like he'd stepped out of a Marlboro ad, complete with the quiet intensity that makes your pulse stutter. He hauled me up the last few feet with a grunt, his muscles straining under a faded chambray shirt rolled to the elbows, revealing forearms corded like old rope from years of wrangling steers. I collapsed onto the ledge beside him, chest heaving, dirt caking my palms as I fought the urge to puke or cry. Maybe both. The horse, a sturdy bay mare with a white blaze down her nose, nickered softly, nosing at Archer's shoulder as if to say, "See? Told you he'd need saving." Archer didn't laugh, though. He just knelt there, one knee in the dust, his Stetson tipped back to reveal a face weathered by sun and wind. Sharp jaw shadowed with stubble, hazel eyes flecked with gold like flecks in the canyon floor, and a scar slicing through his left eyebrow that begged for a story. "You all right, city boy?" His voice was low, laced with that drawl that stretched vowels like taffy. Pure Southwest, the kind that makes all right sound like a lifeline. He extended a canteen, the metal warm from his body heat. I took it, gulping water that tasted of leather and sage, my hands shaking too much to screw the cap back on properly. He did it for me, his fingers brushing mine, calluses rough against my smooth ones, and damn if that didn't send a jolt straight to my gut, sharper than the adrenaline crash. "Yeah," I managed, voice hoarse. "Just testing gravity." Failed the first try. It was a weak joke, but he cracked a half smile, the kind that crinkles the corners of his eyes without fully committing, like he was used to holding back. "Name's Archer Kane. This here's Rosie." He patted the horse's flank, and she leaned into it, content. "You got a name? Or should I just call you that fool who almost fed the buzzards?" "Lucas," I said, pushing to my feet on wobbly legs. Up close, he was taller than I'd clocked in the chaos. 6'2" easy, broad-shouldered in a way that spoke of hard labor, not gym selfies. His jeans were faded Levi's, tucked into scuffed boots that had seen more miles than my Subaru. A silver buckle glinted at his belt, etched with a lone star, and around his neck hung a thin chain with a small cross pendant, catching the late afternoon sun. "Thanks for the save. I owe you a beer. Or a steak. Hell, a new horse if she spooks easy." He chuckled then, a rumble that echoed off the rocks, and stood, dusting off his hat before settling it back on. "Rosie's tougher than both of us. But you look like you could use a ride back to the trailhead before you kiss another cliff goodbye. Hop on." I hesitated, glancing at the mare. I'd ridden once at summer camp when I was 12, and it had ended with me faceplanting in manure. But the sun was dipping low, painting the valley in bloody oranges and purples, and my pack felt like an anchor dragging me toward exhaustion. "You sure?" "I don't want to." "Lucas." My name on his lips was a command wrapped in velvet. "Get on the damn horse before I throw you over it like a sack of feed." 20 minutes later, we were descending a narrow switchback, me perched awkwardly in front of him in the saddle, his chest a solid wall at my back, arms bracketing my waist as he held the reins loose. The rhythm of Rosie's trot synced with my heartbeat, each step jolting warmth through me where our bodies touched. Innocent, accidental, but electric all the same. The valley unfolded below us like a crumpled map. Jagged mesas thrusting skyward, creosote bushes clawing at the sandy soil, and in the distance, the hazy silhouette of Weaver's Needle, that infamous spire said to guard the Dutchman's gold. Wind whispered through the scrub, carrying the faint tang of wildflowers and dust, and for the first time in months, the knot in my chest loosened just a fraction. We didn't talk much at first. The silence was companionable, broken only by the creak of leather and Rosie's occasional snort. But as the trail widened into a flat stretch of alluvial fan, Archer cleared his throat. "What brings a fella like you out here alone? Ain't exactly spa country." I twisted to glance at him, our faces closer than they should be in the fading light. Escape, mostly. Life in Phoenix got complicated. Needed space to breathe without someone else's expectations crowding in. He nodded, eyes on the horizon. "Know that feelin'? This valley's got a way of strip-pin you down to bone. No masks, no bullshit. Just you and the ghosts." "Ghosts?" I echoed, curiosity piqued. The word hung heavy, like it carried his own baggage. His jaw tightened, that scar twitching. "Family ones, mostly. Dad ran the ranch till he passed last winter. Heart attack in the saddle. Quicker than he deserved, slower than I wished sometimes." The bitterness was there, raw under the calm, and I wondered what fractures hid beneath that cowboy armor. "I'm sorry," I said, meaning it. "Loss like that doesn't heal. It just scabs over, waiting for the next scrape." "Don't be. Makes a man appreciate the quiet." He nudged Rosie into a canter, the speed stealing my breath, but not the thrill. By the time we reached the trailhead parking lot, my dusty Subaru the only car in sight, the stars were pricking the indigo sky like diamond chips. He dismounted first, offering a hand to steady me down. Our palms met again, lingering a beat too long, and I swear the air crackled. "You got plans tonight, Lucas?" "Starving and sore." "Nearest towns?" "Apache Junction, 'bout 20 minutes east. But if you're game, I got a fire pit and venison chili back at the ranch. Beats microwave burritos." My brain screamed stranger danger, but my gut, the one that had led me into this mess, whispered yes. "Lead the way, cowboy." The Cane Ranch sprawled across 1,000 acres of leased BLM land, a patchwork of grazing pastures hemmed by barbed wire and the occasional wind-twisted juniper. We'd driven in his battered Ford F-150. Rosie trailered behind, the radio tuned low to Waylon Jennings crooning about Luckenbach, Texas. Archer's place was a low-slung adobe affair with a sagging porch and a windmill creaking lazily against the night. Inside, it smelled of aged wood, coffee grounds, and something faintly herbal. Sage bundles tied above the doorframe, warding off who knows what. He built the fire out back with practiced ease, flames licking up to chase the chill as I shrugged off my pack. The chili was hearty, spiced with cumin and green chiles that burned just right, served in dented tin bowls on a picnic table scarred from years of use. We ate in the firelight, shadows dancing across his face, turning that scar into a lightning bolt. Conversation flowed easier here, away from the edge of cliffs, about my failed design gig, his endless battle with drought and feed prices, the way the valley's isolation bred legends like the Dutchman, who supposedly cursed his gold with death for any who sought it. "You believe in curses?" I asked, poking at the embers with a stick. Archer leaned back, boots propped on a stump, nursing a beer from a six-pack he'd cracked open. "Believe in choices that bite you in the ass later. Like leavin' the ranch for college, thinkin' city lights were brighter. Came back when Dad got sick, but too late to fix what pride broke." His eyes met mine across the flames, holding steady. "What about you? What's the curse chasin' you?" I swallowed, the fire's heat mirroring the flush creeping up my neck. "Hiding, I guess. From who I am when no one's watchin'. Dated a guy last year, thought he was the one. Turned out he was just bi-curious enough to experiment. then bolt when his buddies started asking questions. The words tumbled out, unfiltered. The valley's magic or the beer loosening my tongue. Out here it's like, who even cares? No apps, no labels. Just dirt and stars. He was quiet so long I thought I'd spooked him. But then he set his bottle down. Deliberate. Out here labels stick like burrs. Folks in town? They got their Bibles and their beers, and anything that don't fit gets whispered about till it bleeds. His voice dropped. Confessional. Had a buddy once back in high school. We got close. Too close. He lit out for California after graduation. Never looked back. Left me wondering if I was the curse. The admission hung there, fragile as ash. I wanted to reach across, bridge that gap, but the fire popped, scattering sparks, and he stood abruptly. Wind's picking up. Best get you bedded down before the coyotes start their choir. He showed me to the guest room. A spare bunk off the mudroom, quilted in faded denim patches, then vanished into the main house. Sleep came fitful, haunted by dreams of falling, of hands pulling me up, of hazel eyes that saw too much. Dawn broke with rooster crows and the scent of bacon frying, pulling me into the kitchen where Archer hunched over the stove, apron tied loose around his hips. Mornin'. Sleep all right? Better than a motel mattress. I slid onto a stool at the island, watching him flip eggs with a spatula worn smooth from use. Domestic, this two men sharing space like it was the most natural thing. No tension beyond the unspoken pull humming between us. We ate on the porch, coffee steaming in mugs chipped from ranch life. Trails clear today, he said, gesturing to the east with his fork. If you're not in a rush, I could show you the backcountry. Real Dutchman territory, caves, petroglyphs. Rosie's up for it. My flight back to Phoenix wasn't till evening. What was one more day? You're on. But only if you promise no more cliffhangers. His grin was full this time, boyish under the brim. No promises, Lucas. Life's full of M. The ride out was poetry in motion. Rosie picking her way through arroyos dry as bones, Archer's narration weaving history into the landscape. He pointed out Anasazi ruins etched into cliff faces, spirals and hunters pecked into stone by hands long turned to dust. They say the old ones knew secrets we forgot, how to live with the land, not against it. His voice softened on the last, and when he dismounted to show me a hidden spring bubbling from basalt, our shoulders brushed, lingering. We watered the horses there, the trickle echoing in the narrow slot canyon, sunlight slanting in golden shafts that turned dust motes to fireflies. I splashed water on my face, cool shock against sun-warmed skin, and caught him watching, not staring but seeing like he was memorizing the curve of my jaw, the way my shirt clung damp to my chest. What? I asked, half laughing to cover the vulnerability. Nothing. But his eyes said otherwise, darkening with that same hunger I'd glimpsed last night. He stepped closer, the space between us shrinking to inches, the air thick with unspoken want. You're not like the tourists who blow through. Got roots showing, even if you don't know it yet. My breath hitched. And you? What's under the hat and the drawl? He reached out, thumb brushing a bead of water from my cheek, rough and tender. A man tired of hiding from the mirror. Then his lips were on mine, soft at first, testing, then deepening with the pent-up force of years denied. It was salt and sage, calluses and clean cotton, a kiss that tasted of risk and revelation. My hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, the world narrowing to the heat of him, the steady thrum of his heart against mine. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, the canyon holding its breath. Archer! Shoo! He cupped my face, thumb tracing my lower lip. One day, Lucas. That's all I'm a skin. No strings, no tomorrows. Just this. I nodded, heart pounding like a war drum. One day. What harm could it do? The afternoon blurred into a montage of stolen moments. Sharing jerky under a cottonwood's shade, his laughter booming when I botched a story about Phoenix traffic. Racing Rosie across a flat pan, wind whipping our whoops into the ether. Collapsing in a hidden meadow for a picnic of apples and cheese, his head in my lap as I traced that scar's path, coaxing out its tail, a bar fight over a bet gone sour, or maybe just a boy too drunk on rebellion. As shadows lengthened, we crested a ridge overlooking the ranch, the valley a quilt of gold and green in the dying light. Archer reined in, dismounting to stand beside me, his hand finding mine in the stirrup. Best view in Arizona. I slid down, facing him, the horse's warmth at my back. Liar. The view's right here. Bold words for a man whose knees felt like jelly. But his smile, God, that smile, made them true. We kissed again, slower this time, hands roaming with the reverence of explorers charting new land. No rush, no desperation. Just the quiet unraveling of guards long held. When we finally pulled apart, the sun balanced on the horizon, a blood-orange disk bleeding into the mesas. Stay, he murmured against my temple. One night, please. My phone buzzed in my pocket, reality intruding, a text from work, client meltdown. Need you back ASAP. Phoenix called, with its traffic and timelines, its closet doors cracked but never flung wide. But here, in this valley, with Archer's arms around me like an anchor, leaving felt like betrayal. I can't, I whispered, hating the lie even as it slipped out. Not like this, not without more. His grip tightened, then released, stepping back with that cowboy resolve snapping into place. Fair enough, but if you ever need a horse, or a hand up from the edge, you know where to find me. The drive to the airport was silent torture, his truck eating miles while country radio filled the void with twangy laments about lost loves and ramblin' men. At the terminal, he pulled over, engine idling like a reluctant heartbeat. Take care of yourself, Lucas Hale. You too, Archer Kane. I leaned across the console, stealing one last kiss. Fierce, final, tasting of goodbye. Then I was out, bags slung over shoulder, walking backward into the fluorescent glare, watching his taillights fade into the desert night. Back in Phoenix, the days bled into weeks, pixels and deadlines burying the valley under layers of forget. But Archer lingered, a phantom thumbprint on my skin, hazel eyes haunting my sketches, his drawl echoing in quiet moments. I texted once, a lame thinking of that ride. Thanks for the save. No reply, maybe pride, maybe fear. Either way, the silence carved deeper than words. Then came the storm. A client pitch gone south, my roommate announcing his engagement to a girl I'd pegged as straight, and a bar pickup who bailed mid-drink when I mentioned complicated history. I drove east one weekend, telling myself it was for a hike, not a man. The valley welcomed me back unchanged. Same dust devils dancing, same coyote howls threading the dark. But the ranch? A for sale sign stabbed the gate like a knife. Heart in my throat, I followed the dirt road to the house. Empty windows stared back, porch swept clean of memories. A neighbor in a John Deere cap leaned on his fence, squinting at my plates. Lookin' for Archer? Sold up last month. Headed to Montana, I hear. Something about startin' fresh after the bank called the note. The words hit like shale underfoot. Sold. Gone. Without a word. Betrayal burned hot, mingling with grief. Had our day meant so little? Or too much, enough to run? I camped that night in the backcountry. The same meadow, fire crackling lonely. Stars wheeled overhead, indifferent, and I wept for the what-ifs, the hands that had pulled me from the edge only to vanish. Dawn brought clarity, harsh as cactus spines. I couldn't chase ghosts, but I could honor the spark they'd lit. Months later, scrolling freelance gigs in Missoula, Montana's listings caught my eye. Remote design for ranch co-ops. Ironic. Healing. I applied, half joking with fate. The callback came swift. Lucas Hale? This is Archer Kane. Funny how paths loop back. We met at a diner off I-90, formica tables sticky with syrup ghosts, snow dusting the pines outside. He looked the same, scar, Stetson, that quiet fire, but softer around the edges, like the mountains had sanded his sharpness. Ran because I was scared, he admitted over black coffee, voice steady now. Of wantin' more than one day, of draggin' you into my mess. The ranch debt, Dad's old debts, the town talk if they knew. I reached for his hand across the table, calluses familiar. You didn't drag. You lifted. And I'm here, aren't I? He turned his palm up, lacing our fingers. Yeah, you are. That winter we built slow. Hikes through grizzly country, his hand in mine unhidden. Dinners where I sketched logos for his new outfit while he spun yarns of wolf tracks and wild rivers. Spring thawed the ground, and with it, us. Kisses in the hayloft, confessions under quilted skies, the valley's lessons etched in our bones. Love isn't a curse, but a choice, burrs and all. One evening, atop a bluff overlooking the ranch he'd bought with a partner, me. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Not a ring, but a braided leather bracelet, star-etched buckle charm glinting. No proposals. Not yet, but a promise. Whatever edges we fall from, we pull each other up. I slipped it on, the weight grounding. Deal, cowboy. As the sun dipped, painting the world in gold, I leaned into him, the unforgettable day stretching into forever. Not dramatic, not cursed, but human. Real. Ours. The bracelet became my talisman, a quiet rebellion against the phoenix polish I'd worn like camouflage. Back in the city for a contract gig. Ironic, designing ads for a straight-laced real estate firm. I'd catch myself tracing the leather weave during meetings, the faint squeak of it against my watch a secret Morse code. He's real. This is real. Colleagues shot sidelong glances, mistaking it for some hipster fad. But I didn't care. For the first time, the closet felt less like a cage and more like a coat rack, hanging there optional. Archer's texts lit up my phone like prairie fire. Saw a bull elk today big as a truck. Miss your laugh echoing off the rocks. Or cooked that chili. Burned the pot. Your fault for distracting me in my head. I'd fire back sketches. Him as a mythic cowboy, lassoing stars, or voice notes of Phoenix absurdities. Like the drag brunch where a queen roasted my cowboy chic vibe. Distance sharpened the ache, but it honed us too, forcing words where touches couldn't reach. Then came the call that shattered the idyll. It was a Tuesday, rain sluicing the office windows like tears, when my phone buzzed with an unknown Montana number. Not Archer, his sister Lila, voice tight as barbed wire. Lucas? It's about Arch. There's been an accident. The world funneled to a pinprick. What happened? Is he? Ranch truck flipped on black ice up near the divide. He's stable, but banged up bad, concussion, broken ribs, some internal bruising. Docs say he'll pull through, but he asked for you. Said to tell you. The valley's Callan, but I need my hand up this time. I was on the road by dusk, tires chewing interstate asphalt, the bracelet of vice around my wrist. 20 hours blurred into caffeine haze and audiobooks I ignored, heart-hammering scenarios. What if he's changed his mind? What if one day wasn't enough anymore? Montana greeted me with a slap of cold. Bozeman's airport, a frenzy of holiday travelers oblivious to my unraveling. Lila met me at the hospital doors, a wiry woman in Carhartt and braids, eyes red-rimmed but fierce. He looks like hammered shit, but he's Archer, stubborn as sin. She gripped my arm, appraising. Knew there was someone when he started hummin' off-key after that first call from Arizona. Glad you showed. The room smelled of antiseptic and wilted carnations. Monitors beeping a mechanical lullaby. Archer lay propped against pillows, face ashen under the fluorescent buzz. Left arm in a sling, bruises blooming purple across his collarbone. But his eyes, those hazel beacons, snapped open when I entered, softening like dawn on frost. Lucas. My name was a rasp, but it wrapped around me warmer than any quilt. You flew through a storm for this?
I'm flattered.
I crossed the tiles in 3 strides, sinking into the chair, taking his good hand like it was spun glass. Drove, you idiot. And yeah, I did. Because turns out, one day turned into my whole damn vocabulary for home. He squeezed, weak but sure. Scared me, waking up without you there. Thought maybe I dreamed the good parts. We talked then, halting at first. Doctor's grim prognosis, the truck's mangled frame towed to a scrapyard. Then deeper, peeling back the fears we'd sidestepped. Dad's death. He confessed, voice cracking. It gutted me, made me think lovin' hard just invites more loss. That's why I sold the ranch so quick. Ran before you could see the broke parts. I brushed his hair back, thumb lingering on that scar. Broke's beautiful, Archer. It's where the light gets in. Recovery was a grind. Weeks in that sterile box, then home to the ranch where Lila and I tag-teamed nursing duty, her with bone broth and blunt advice. Don't coddle him, he'll milk it. Me with playlists of Johnny Cash and sketches of us as invincible outlaws. Archer mended slow, ribs knitting like old fences, but each day brought him back. First steps unaided across the kitchen. A whoop when he saddled Rosie for a gentle loop around the corral. One crisp April morning, as snowmelt swelled the creek, he cornered me in the barn, hay dust moting the sunbeams. Marry me, Lucas. Not a question. A statement, delivered with that drawl certainty. His hands framing my face, sling dangling forgotten. I laughed, tears pricking because of course, this cowboy who'd saved me from gravity would now tether me to the stars. Yes, I breathed, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of forever. But valleys have shadows, and ours deepened with summer's heat. The ranch co-op Archer had joined, a collective of small outfits pooling resources against corporate AG giants, fractured under greed. His partner, a silver-tongued operator named Vance, had been skimming irrigation funds, falsifying logs to buy out shares on the cheap. Whispers turned to accusations at the monthly meet, held in a community hall reeking of stale coffee and suspicion. You're stirring shit, Kane? Vance snarled, face ruddy under the harsh lights, as Archer laid out the discrepancies on a battered whiteboard. Always the Boy Scout, huh? Jeopardizing all our livelihoods for your holier-than-thou crusade. I sat in the back, notebook in lap, sketching the tension like a storm front. Archer's jaw set, fists clenched on the table, the room's eyes boring in. We'd prepped for this, pored over receipts till midnight oil burned low. But seeing it play out twisted my gut. It's not a crusade, Archer shot back, voice even as a drawn pistol. It's truth. And if we don't call it, we're all sinking. Murmurs rippled. Old-timers nodding slow, younger bucks shifting uneasy. Vance's glare slid to me then, calculating. Brought your city pet to the party? What's he got invested, besides pretty pictures? The barb landed like a spur rowel, drawing blood. Heat flooded my cheeks, but Archer's hand found mine under the table, squeezing steady. Lucas is invested in me. That's enough. And he's the one who spotted the numbers don't add up. Vance laughed. Ugly bark. Invested. Cute. Like that explains the two fellas sharing a bunk in God's country. The room sucked air, silence thick as tar. He'd sniffed it out. Our quiet life, the way I lingered too long at his side, the absence of girlfriends in town talk, bigotry, naked and small-town sharp. I froze, pulse thundering, but Archer rose, chair scraping like a gauntlet thrown. My life's mine, Vance, and if that sticks in your craw, doors that way. He nodded to the exit, then turned to the group. Vote on it. Audit or no? Hands rose, majority for truth, and Vance stormed out, venom trailing. But the damage lingered, a crack in the valley's fragile peace. Drive-bys with headlights off, gates left open to let steers wander. Anonymous notes slipped under the door. Sodom's comin', for ya, Kane. We weathered it, barricades up, literal and not, but the strain-etched lines around Archer's eyes deepened the furrow between mine. Worth it? I asked one night, tangled in sheets, his head on my chest. He traced my bracelet with a finger. Every bruise, because hidin' again, that's the real curse. Fall brought vindication. Vance indicted, co-op stabilized. Our shares doubled in value. But triumph soured when Lila announced her move, engaged to a wrangler from Wyoming, chasing her own horizon. Y'all made this place home. She hugged me fierce at the airport. But I need my own dirt to turn. Empty nests echo, and the ranch felt vast without her laugh bouncing off the beams. Archer threw himself into expansion. Solar pumps, heritage cattle. While I built a studio in the bunkhouse, freelancing logos that blended urban edge with rustic soul. Clients trickled in, drawn by the authentic vibe, but success whispered temptations. Offers from Denver firms, Phoenix callbacks with fat bonuses. You belong out here, Archer murmured one dusk, as we forked hay in the lowering sun, sweat slicking our shirts. But if the valley chokes, we go together. I leaned on my pitchfork, watching him. Stronger now, scars layered like stories. It's not the valley, it's the fear of it all vanishing, like you did that first time. He set his tool aside, closing the distance, hay-stuck hands cupping my face. Won't happen. Not again. His kiss was promise, salt-laced, the kind that roots you deeper than any mortgage. Winter gripped hard that year, blizzards burying fences, wolves testing the herds. One storm-trapped night, power out, we huddled by the hearth, candles guttering shadows across walls papered in our history. Photos of Arizona sunsets, Montana snowscapes, my sketches framed beside his buckles. Remember the Dutchman? I asked, his fingers carding through my hair. He hummed affirmative, breath warm on my neck. Cursed gold. But we found better. Something that don't tarnish. Morning brought a calf, breech birth under lantern light. Archer's hands steady in blood and miracle. I assisted, towels ready, and when the little thing bawled its first breath, slick and wobbly, we collapsed against the stall, laughing through exhaustion. Life, raw and insistent, proving its poetry. Spring unfurled tentative, then bold, wild iris spiking the meadows, Rosie foaling a colt with Archer's stubborn spark. We hosted a branding day, neighbors trickling back, old suspicions thawed by time and Vance's fall. Lila visited, ring glinting, her Wyoming tales weaving new threads into our tapestry. Yet doubt nipped at heels, subtle as foxtails. A letter arrived, forwarded from Phoenix. My ex, that bicurious ghost. Words slurred in regret. Missed my chance with a real one. Saw your work, proud. Coffee? I crumpled it. But the echo lingered, a what-if worm. Archer found me by the creek, skipping stones with more force than finesse. Trouble. Just echoes. I handed him the paper, watching his jaw cycle through hurt to resolve. He don't get to haunt you. Not here. He chucked it into the current, ripples swallowing secrets. Then softer, but if Montana's echoing wrong, say it. We'll chase a new valley. I pulled him down to the bank, grass tickling our backs. This one's ours. Echoes and all. Summer peaked in a heat wave, mirages dancing on blacktop, and with it, the valley's test. A wildfire sparked in the drought-parched hills. Lightning strike, they said, racing toward the ranch like vengeance. Evac orders blared, sirens wailing distant, and we loaded trailers frantic. Horses stamping, cattle lowing protest. My studio packed in boxes like fragile dreams. Flames crowned the ridge by midnight, orange maw devouring pines, smoke choking the stars. We retreated to a neighbor's fallow field, watching the inferno claim acres, firefighters' lights winking like defiant fireflies. Archer's arm around me was iron, but his voice trembled. Everything we built. Not everything, I countered, pressing into him. The roots run deep. Dawn broke ashen. The blaze contained but the scar vast. Blackened earth, twisted trunks like accusations. Surveying the damage, Archer's shoulders slumped, the weight of loss bowing him. Bank'll call this. Insurance fights. We're done. Rage flared, hot as the embers still smoldering. Bullshit. We rebuild. Together. He turned, eyes hollow. You got a life waitin' in cities, Lucas. Don't tie yourself to ash. The words cut, betrayal's echo from that first goodbye. Is that what you think? That I'm here till it's hard? He recoiled, scar blanching. I think I'm the curse. Pulling you from edges, then burnin' the ground underfoot. I grabbed his shirt, fists knotted in chambray. Stop. You're not the curse, you're the goddamn gold. And I'm not leavin'. We stood there, fire's acrid reek clinging, until he deflated, forehead dropping to mine. Forgive me, for doubtin' us. Always. The kiss was smoke-tanged. Renewal. Rebuild started small. Clearing debris with volunteers, Lila hauling supplies from Wyoming, grants trickling for resilient ranchers. I designed the plans sustainable fire smart while Archer forged ahead, blisters his badges. Months ground on, progress measured in replanted saplings, repaired corrals. One golden September eve, as the sun gilded new grass, Archer led me blindfolded to the ridge, the one overlooking our scarred but stirring valley. Trust me. Always. Fabric slipped away, revealing a signpost at the overlook. Hail Cane Ranch, carved in oak, bolted firm. He knelt then, not in defeat but devotion, a ring in his palm, simple band, etched with a star and a spiral. Marry me proper, Lucas. Here where it started with a fall, a horse, and a hand up. Tears blurred the vista, but my yes rang clear as canyon echo. The valley, witness to our fractures and fires, cradled our vows in wild wind. Wedding planning in Montana's high country was less tulle and tuxes, more thermoses of whiskey and wildflower crowns. We opted for simple. A justice of the peace under the big sky, guests a mix of ranch hands, Lila's crew from Wyoming, and a surprise Phoenix contingent. My old therapist, beaming like a proud aunt, and a handful of design buddies who'd grilled me mercilessly about the cowboy who tamed you. Archer grumbled about fancy duds. But he cleaned up devastating in a tailored button-down. Sleeves rolled to those forearms I loved mapping, follow tie a nod to roots. The ceremony unfolded on that ridge, wind tousling vows like confetti. I promise to pull you from every edge, Archer said, voice carrying over the gusts, rings sliding warm onto my finger. To build with you, burn with you, and love you fierce as this land. Mine trembled out. And I'll be your city spark in the dark, your hand when gravity betrays. Forever starts now. Seals stamped with a kiss that drew whoops. Then the real party kicked off. A potluck spread on hay bales. Lila's elk stew, my guac fusion, a hit, surprisingly, and Archer's chili, upgraded with my secret chipotle kick. Bonfire crackled as dusk fell, guitars strumming Johnny and Willie, dances clumsy but close. His boots scuffing mine, laughter bubbling free. That night, in our bed slick with new husband sweat, he traced the ring's gleam on my chest. Husband, he tested, grin wolfish. Sounds like a title I could get used to. I nipped his ear. Better get used to it, Mr. Hail Cane. We've got a lifetime of unforgettable days to rack up. Honeymoon was a working one. Trailer hitched, Rosie and the colt in tow, looping Yellowstone's geothermal wonders. Geysers erupted like our joy, bison herds thundering past as indifferent monarchs. We soaked in hot springs under star-drenched skies, steam curling like secrets, bodies entwined in waters that healed old aches. Back home, the rhythm settled. Mornings with coffee on the porch, his kiss lingering like dew. Days of wrangling and wire mending. Me pitching in with sketches for eco-tour adons. Glamping pods for city folk craving authentic without the grit. Revenue ticked up, enough to hire a hand, easing Archer's load. But harmonies of fragile Mustang, bucking when least expected. Fall brought Cal, a drifter hand with eyes like chipped flint and a resume padded with bar fights. He worked hard, ropes sure, cattle quiet under his hand, but shadows trailed him. Late nights at the roadhouse, fists flying over spilled beer, whispers of warrants dodged from Texas. Archer saw potential, the redemption arc. Everyone deserves a shot, Lucas. Like you gave me. I nodded, uneasy, watching Cal's gaze linger too long on Archer's back during branding. A hunger there that twisted proprietary. Jealousy? Or something darker? I buried it, chalking to new married paranoia, but the bracelet itched like warning. Tensions crested at the Harvest Barn dance, town hall strung with Edison bulbs, air thick with hay and hooch. Cal cornered me by the punch bowl, breath sour. Pretty life you got, city boy. Archer's always savant strays. First you, now me. Wonder how long till he tires of polish. I stiffened, glass cool in my grip. He's not saving. We're partners. And you're welcome here till you prove otherwise. His laugh was gravel. Partners, right? Heard the talk. How he sold his soul for a pretty face. Banks sniffin' again, you know. Drought cuttin' deep. The seed planted, doubt sprouting overnight. Archer dismissed it over breakfast. Cal's all bark. And the bank's fine, we're diversified. But checks bounced that week. A supplier stiffed. And Archer's late nights pouring ledgers carved hollows under his eyes. I dove into audits, spreadsheets blooming like weeds, uncovering discrepancies. Not Vance scale, but sloppy. Over orders on feed, cash siphoned for emergencies. Cal's signature bloomed on too many. Confrontation came in the tack room. Oil lamps flickering guilt onto his face. Where's the money, Cal? He sneered, pitchfork leaning casual. Pocket change. Archer owes me. Promised a cut, then played house instead. Stealin' ain't a cut. Archer loomed in the door, voice thunder low. Pack and go. Dawn. Cal lunged, wild swing clipping Archer's jaw, blood blooming instant. I tackled him, ribs screaming from old phantom pains, pinning till he bucked free, spitting curses. You'll regret this, Cain. Both of ya. Sodomites ruinin' good land. He fled into night, truck roaring gravel, but the wound festered. Archer iced his split lip, silent storm brewing. Should have seen it. Trusted wrong again. I cleaned the cut, antiseptic sharp. We both did. But that's not ruin, that's lesson. He pulled me close, blood tang on his breath. Love you for that. For seein' the gold in the grit. Winter whispered threats. Wolves bolder, blizzards fiercer, and a letter from the bank. Foreclosure looming if payments lagged. Archer's optimism cracked. Nights spent pacing the porch, Stetson crushed in hands. Can't lose this, Lucas. It's us, our fight. I held him then under quilted stars. Then we fight smarter. Sell the tour pods, lease grazing rights. And I take that Denver gig. Remote, but steady cash. His eyes searched mine, pain raw. Leavin' me to the wolves? Temporary. For us. The lie tasted bitter. Denver meant suits and sidelong stares. A step back into half shadows. He nodded, broken. Whatever it takes. The gig started brutal. Video calls at dawn, clients nitpicking my rustic aesthetic, like it offended their urban sheen. Archer's texts grew sparse, herds move in fine. Miss you. The distance a chasm widening. Lila called, worried. He's isolatin. Don't let the bank break him before you fix it. Guilt gnawed, but resolve hardened. I uncovered a grant, federal, for queer-owned AG ops, and poured nights into the app, weaving our story. Two men rising from ashes, loving loud in quiet lands. Approval came spring, funds like manna, staving foreclosure. I raced home, bursting through the door to Archer knee-deep in mud, having season frenzy. We did it. He straightened, mud-streaked grin splitting. Knew you would. But joy soured quick. Cal's revenge. Arson whispers, a shed torched, insurance balking, suspicious. Investigation dragged, Archer grilled like suspect, town eyes narrowing anew. They're seeing us as the curse again. He muttered, ash-smeared hands trembling as we sifted ruins. I laced fingers through soot. Then we burn brighter. Prove 'em wrong. Summer tested that. Community barbecues where we held hands blatant. My designs on co-op banners proclaiming pride in the plains. Cal surfaced in cuffs. Texas warrant, our fire his parting shot. And vindication tasted sweet, but scars lingered. One heat-shimmered afternoon, surveying regrown pastures, Archer halted, voice thick. You saved us, Lucas. Again. I smirked, bumping his shoulder. Team effort, Cowboy. Now, about that Denver lease. Think I can quit? His laugh boomed. Free. Pastures waitin'. Fall gilded edges, harvest feasts abundant. And with winter's approach we planned expansion. A queer AG retreat. Cabins for folks seeking valleys of their own. Lila's wedding in Wyoming doubled as ours vow renewal, under big skies where family, blood and chosen gathered. Yet, in quiet moments, doubt's echo faded not entirely. A phoenix invite. Industry gala, old flames orbiting, tempted, whispering bigger. Archer saw the male, jaw tight. Go if you need. I'll hold the fort. I crumpled it, choosing him over glitter. Fort's big enough with you. The choice anchored us, deeper than rings. As snow dusted first, we stood on the porch, his arm heavy around me, valley hushed. Unforgettable day? He murmured. Every damn one, I replied, sealing with wintermint kiss. The retreat idea bloomed from embers. Our story, packaged as healing. Workshops on sustainable ranching laced with coming-out circles. Trails for reflection ending at overlooks where folks could scream secrets into the wind. I handled the branding, literal and figurative, logos evoking open ranges and open hearts, website copy that sang of resilience without sap. Archer scouted sites, his practical eye turning scorched earth to sanctuary. First guests arrived tentative. A leather-jacketed couple from Seattle, fleeing corporate closets. A solo dad from Tulsa, kids in tow, navigating custody wars with ex-wives who wielded faith like weapons. Their stories wove into ours around evening fires. Archer's Arizona pull-up, my Phoenix unravelings. Sparks jumping not just flames, but barriers. Thought Montana was all flannel and fear. The dad admitted, marshmallow gooey on his fingers. But this? It's breathin' room. Archer clapped his shoulder. Valley's got space for all if you claim it. Revenue flowed steady. Cabins booked months out. Reviews glowing like fireflies. Found my footing here, literally and figuratively. We hired queer hands. A non-binary vet with a knack for horses. A trans chef infusing meals with southern soul. And the ranch pulsed alive, a heartbeat against isolation's tide. But growth invites gales. Town council eyed our alternative venture. Zoning meetings turning proxy wars. Pastors thumping pulpits about moral decay. While progressives whispered support from pews back. Archer testified, boots polished, voice steady. This ain't about agendas. It's jobs, community, folks contributin', without hidin'. I sat front row, bracelet glinting under lights, pride swelling as applause. Slim but fervent, followed. Victory came narrow, permits stamped, but the undercurrent simmered. Personal storms brewed subtler. My 30th loomed, a milestone that itched like wool. Sketches piling unfinished, designs feeling rote against the raw life we'd built. Imposter. I confessed to Archer one dawn, coffee cooling untouched. You wrangle life. I doodle edges. He set his mug down, hazel eyes piercing. Your doodles built this. Edges are where the story lives. He pulled a folder from the sideboard. My old Arizona sketches, framed now as retreat murals. You're the mapmaker, Lucas. Don't forget. The reminder steadied, but birthdays bring mirrors, and mine reflected fractures. A call from my mother, voice brittle over static. Heard you're married. To him. Church folk talk, you know? No congrats, just veiled barbs about choices and prodigal returns. I hung up, gut knotted, wandering to the barn where Archer mucked stalls. Family stuff, I muttered, grabbing a shovel. He paused, pitchfork midair. The bad kind. Worst, like I'm still the kid sneaking magazines under the bed. He leaned on the handle, mud-caked boots shifting. Want me to call? Play the bad cop husband. Laughter bubbled, easing. Nah, but thanks for being my chosen mess. We finished in companionable quiet. Then he dragged me to the ridge. Blindfold again, his tradition. Uncovered. A easel rigged permanent, canvas stretched, paints arrayed against the view. Your studio, he said, arms bracketing from behind. Paint the valley raw. No clients, no clocks. Tears pricked. It was freedom, framed. I kissed him fierce, paint-smeared promise. Summer swelled guests, stories layering like sedimentary rock. A poet from Chicago birthing verses in our meadow. A retiree couple renewing vows scarred by AIDS-era losses. One night, a young vet, PTSD haunted, discharged dishonorable, broke by the fire, sobs wrenching. Archer knelt, hand on knee. War's a thief, son, but here's where you steal back. I watched, heart full, as the kid unclenched, words spilling. Later, Abed, I traced Archer's scar. You're a healer, cowboy, under the grit. He hummed, fingers in my hair. Team, Remember? You pull the words. I pull the weight. Fall's harvest coincided with our first anniversary, marking that Arizona day with a trail ride to the old spring. Picnic packed. Chili, apples, the bracelet I'd woven twin to his. We soaked feet in the trickle, rings catching light, toasting with canteen whiskey. To edges, he said. And hands up, I echoed. But anniversaries unearth bones. A package arrived, unmarked. Photos, grainy. Us kissing by the fire pit, clipped from town gossip rags. Note scrawled, Valley don't want your kind. Leave or burn. Cal's ghost or council holdouts. Didn't matter. Fear coiled cold. Archer burned them in the sink, flames devouring evidence. We don't scare easy. But I did, nights tossing visions of torched cabins, fleeing guests. What if they hurt you? To get at us? He gathered me close, heartbeat drum. Then we rise. Like always. Winter bit hard, retreats slowing, but intimacy deepened, lazy mornings mapping each other's scars. His on skin, mine on soul. Lila birthed a niece, red-faced howler we visited, her tiny fist clutching Archer's thumb. Uncle Duty, he grinned, melting me. Spring thawed threats. An arrest, local bigot, Cal's drinking buddy. After a slashed tire. Councilwoman resigned amid scandal, paving progressive paths. Guests surged. Our story syndicated in queer mags, drawing national eyes. Yet success shadowed. A producer called docuseries on Heartland Heroes. Tempting with lights, legacy. Archer demurred. We're living it, not selling. I pushed. Could fund expansions. Show the world. Tug of war ensued. Dinners tense. His quiet, don't want our valley on screens, clashing my visibility's power. Fracture widened, words sharpening like shears. Climax crested at a retreat welcome. Cameras rolling unannounced. Producers ambush, guests frozen. A trans teen bolting mid-circle, trust shattered. Archer's fury erupted post-filming, door slamming. You invited this circus? Transparency. I yelled back, voice cracking. To protect us. It invades us. He paced, Stetson crushed. I married you for quiet, Lucas, not spectacle. Betrayal stung, old wounds ripping. And I married for all of you, the fighter, not just the hider. Silence deafened, his eyes shattering. Maybe I hid because I knew. The pull to more, leaving me in dust. I stormed out, truck keys snatched, driving blind into dusk. Valley blurring, heart hammering. Hours later, at the ridge, engine ticking cool, I wept for the boy who'd fallen, the man who'd caught him, the husband doubting the catch. Dawn found me returned, porch light on, Archer silhouetted, coffee extended. Ran once, he said, voice raw. Won't again, but we gotta choose together. I took the mug, hands shaking. No cameras, just us, our story, our way. Relief flooded his face, arms crushing me home. Our way. Summer rebuilt bridges. Retreats refined, privacy paramount, guests raving renewed. The producer faded, but a book deal landed. My words, Archer's anecdotes, co-authored truth. Fall's leaves turned, harvest golden, and with winter's hush, we stood on the ridge, easel bearing my latest. Us, hands linked, valley sprawling defiant. Unbreakable, he murmured. Untamed, I agreed. The book deal was serendipity wrapped in deadlines. A publisher from Portland, queer run, envisioning edges of the valley. Love, land, and the fight for home. We hold up winters, me at the easel-turned desk scribbling chapters, Archer dictating tales by firelight. The Dutchman's whisper, Rosie's first foal, that kiss in the canyon slot. His voice, drawl rapping prose like smoke, made drafts sing. My sketches illustrated, turning pages to art. Editing unearthed ghosts, my ex's shadow in a vulnerability chapter, Archer's dad in a legacy lament. Too raw, I asked, cursor hovering delete. He shook head, hand over mine. Ross real. Let MC the fractures. Launch was low-key. Bozeman Bookstore, shelves groaning locals and tourists, wine flowing loose. Readings drew a crowd. Lila front row, niece gurgling approval, and when Archer read our wedding vows, room hushed, tissues rustling. Signings stretched late, fans sharing kin to our tale. Your words gave me courage to come out at the feed store. Driving home under aurora veils, Archer's hand on my thigh. We did good, husband. Yeah. I squeezed back. We did. Spring burgeon bookings, book clubs buzzing, a TEDx invite for Archer. Ranching resilience in red states. He balked. Public speakin'? I'd sooner rope lightning. I coached him gentle mirrors for drawl-softened stammers, slides blending stats with stories. Stage day, Missoula theater packed. He owned it. Stetson doffed, voice rising on our fire's aftermath. Love's anchor. Cue and it turned confessional. A farmer asking, how'd you weather the hate? With each other? He said simple, eyes finding mine in the wings. And a valley big enough for truth. Applause thundered. Backstage, I crushed him in hug. Lightning roped. Summer's heat wave tested anew. Drought cracking earth. Wells running dry. Grants dried too. Bureaucracy's maze. And whispers returned. Them boys bit off more'n they can chew. Archer's optimism frayed. Ledgers balanced on knife edge. One blistering noon, irrigation failing. He snapped at a guest's innocent query. Pipe burst again? Y'all fixin' this cowboy fantasy? I intervened smooth, but rift lingered. That night, sheets tangled, he sighed heavy. Maybe they're right. We're playin' house on borrowed time. Doubt's vine choked. I rose, pacing moonlit floor. Or we're buildin' legacy. For that kid who bolted, the dad with questions for us. He pulled me down, apology in touch. Scared of failin' you? Won't. We pivot, rainwater harvest, crop rotation. Together. Pivot we did, workshops on drought proofing, guests pitching in, bonds forging stronger. A donor emerged, tech queer from Cali, funding solar wells and Valley Green tentative. Fall's equinox brought harvest moon, full and fierce, and with it, revelation. A letter from my mother, not Barb, but Bridge. Read your book. Saw my boy proud finally. Can I visit? Tremble-handed, I called. Her voice cracked soft. Missed you, Lucas. All of you. Visit came Thanksgiving, awkward at first. Her in cardigan stiff against our flannels. Eyes darting from rings to the niece chasing colt. But grace abounded. Lila's pie melting reservations. Archer's quiet welcome, ma'am, easing spines. By fire's end, her hand on mine. He's a good man. Like you. Healing slow rain, but it fell. Winter wrapped gentle. Book tours traded for cabin cozies. Guests dwindling to intimates. One eve, snow muffling world. Archer unearthed a box from the attic. Dad's relics. Journals yellowed, photos faded. Read this, he urged. Page open to an entry. Lost my way after Ma left. Thought love was weakness. But watchin' Archer with that horse. Boys got heart bigger 'en this ranch. Hope he finds someone to match. Tears traced his scar. I kissed salt away. He did. Spring cycled renewal. Calving season bountiful, retreats waitlisted. My mother returning with church friends. Tentative allies, Bibles swapped for books. The valley, once foe, folded us in. Yet climax loomed unbidden. Cal escaped custody. Parole jumped, vendetta hot. Spotted skulking fence lines, rifle glint in dusk. Sheriff warned, arm up, boys. He's unhinged. Nights wired tense, shotguns by beds. Guests sent home early. Archer patrolled rigid. My sketches abandoned for sentry shifts. This ends it, he growled, loading shells. Our peace, shattered. I gripped his arm. Not shattered, fortified. We're not hidin'. We're holdin'. Standoff broke, midnight storm lashed. Cal at the gate, drunk raging, shots wild into dark. Archer faced him, voice bullhorn. Enough, Cal. It's over. Lightning cracked, illuminating madness. Cal lunging, rifle but swinging. I dove, tackling low, mud-slicking grapple. Archer disarmed, pinning with knee as sirens wailed close. Cal spat defeat, ruined everything. You and your pretty boy. Sheriff hauled him, cuffs clicking final. Dawn broke bruised but unbroken. Us huddled on porch, coffee steaming shock away. You saved me, Archer whispered, knuckles grazed. Team, I echoed, bruised lip curving. Aftermath healed layered. Trials, testimonies, town rallies supporting. No room for hate here. Cal sentenced long, Valley exhaling collective. Summer sword triumphant. Retreats record full. Book sequel greenlit. My mother volunteering as Granny Wrangler for kids camps. Archer and I stole a trail day. Rosie retired, her colt our mount. Climbing to the ridge, easel waiting. There, under boundless blue, he knelt anew. Not ring, but vow. Every day unforgettable. Thank you for the fall that led here. I pulled him up, rings clinking. And the horse that carried us. As sun arced, valley sprawling benevolent, we stood entwined, human, scarred, whole. Love's not curse or gold, but gravity's grace, pulling through edges to the light beyond. In that light, we built on cabins to communities, stories to sagas. 2 men, 1 valley, endless days etched in earth and heart. Human after all.